Well, welcome everyone. My name is Remy Mansfield, and I'm joined by our esteemed colleague and Adobe Education leader, Mark Shufflebottom. It's great to have you all here today, tonight, this morning, this evening. We have a lot of folks, looks like, throughout the world tuning in. Thank you so much. We'll keep the discussion going in the left-hand chat, actually just right down there. If you introduce yourself, let us know where you're tuning in from and also maybe what subjects you teach. We'd love to hear a little bit about your background. I just want to start things off by saying today's webinar is part of our Teaching and Learning series, particularly our Teaching and Learning series delivered by our Adobe Education leaders. Today we're fortunate enough to have Mark Shufflebottom with us to share his experience both as a professor of interaction design and also as an educator who has years of experience in both game design, interaction design, as well as mobile development. Mark has been a familiar face for some of you over the last couple of years in our Adobe Gen Pro courses. So some of you might recognize him from our recent XD course and also know him from other courses and webinars as well. So with that said, I want to hand over the mic to Mark and take us away on user experience design with Adobe XD.
Thank you, Remy. Awesome. Okay, so just shout out to everyone just to make sure you can hear me okay. Hopefully you can. I'm just going to switch the layout, and first of all, I thought it'd be great to hear from you guys. So there's some polls up on the screen here. Just fill out your answers. Let's find out a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, because it's just really nice for us to get an idea of who we're speaking to this evening. And based on what you say in the bottom couple of boxes down there, asking, have you used Adobe XD? And how familiar are you with the term UX design? Based on those, will give me a good idea of exactly how much detail I should go into on various subjects tonight. So we've got a lot of people in who are actual designers, not in the education field, which is great. There's about a third of people in the room are something else. I don't know what that something else is, but maybe they're students, I don't know. If you've answered other, do drop into the box there what your other thing might be in the discussion pod. It'd be great to hear from some people who class themselves as something else. Just nice to know who's in the room. Yeah, lots of people putting in there. LMS admin, student graphic design, editorial analyst. Good. Lots of people there, different areas. That's great. Drone pilot is in the room as well. So that's fantastic. So thinking about, have you used Adobe XD? A lot of people are saying no, they haven't, and that's good. So that's pretty interesting. A small number have used it, and some people are planning to use it, but nobody is teaching with it. So that's kind of interesting. And then asking about how familiar are you with the term UX design? Most people seem to have a good understanding of it. That's where the majority of people are. There's two people in the room who are UX designers, so they can keep us on the straight and narrow if we venture off from that a little bit too far. Some people are like, well, they've not really heard of it. Some people are like, well, I've only heard of the term, and a few of you want to know a little bit more. So great, thanks for that. I appreciate you filling those things in. It does help me understand who I'm speaking to this evening. So head back over, and so we're going to talk a little bit about experience design, Adobe's tool for working and designing user experiences. But before we do that, I thought it'd be a good idea just for us to, well, first of all, I'm going to give a brief introduction to who I am and what I do. And beyond that, I also just want to talk about the field of UX. We see this term a lot. One of the reasons for asking you if you knew and understood that term was so that I could get a kind of basis of how to speak to you this evening. I am going to just briefly go over that, and hopefully you can get a kind of sense of what it's about. If you know something different to what I'm saying, please do put into the chat pod below me, because it is an emerging field. It is constantly changing. The frameworks around which people operate and do work within this field, that is constantly changing too. So just be aware that it is a kind of a changing kind of space. Okay, audio good for some people. Somebody's saying it's a little creepy. Just maybe turn it down a little bit. Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? Good audio. Okay, good. There we are. I turned it down just a touch, just in case it was like maybe too loud or something. Okay, awesome. So I am a professor of interaction design. I work at a college called Sheridan College, which is just outside Toronto. It's about kind of 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the time of day, outside there. So the GTA thing there isn't Grand Theft Auto, but it is the Greater Toronto area. If you want to get hold of me over and above the course tonight, you can get hold of me on Twitter. I'm at WebSpace Invader on Twitter, or you can probably contact me through my website there. So at Sheridan, I do a whole bunch of different things with students. Part of interaction design is understanding how we use lots of different devices, how people interact with those devices, and how we build kind of awesome user experiences for people doing that kind of thing. So you can see it up on the screen here. One of the things that we've been working on this year is that we have been working with the HoloLens and just trying to get used to what does it mean to have like an augmented interface on your surroundings, and it's kind of an interesting thing to be posing to the students and getting them to take a look at that. We also play around with the HoloLens. This thing on the screen here is just one of the demos that comes with it, but when I took this photo, none of my students had actually made anything with the the Oculus Rift, I should say. I always get Oculus Rift and HoloLens mixed up for some reason, even when I'm talking to the students. The students play around with this kind of technology. We've got a whole stack of 3D printers, and we kind of do mobile apps and web apps and kind of different experiences for different environments. So just thinking about defining this term, user experience or user experience design, it actually comes from a guy called Donald Norman, and this guy kind of came up with it in the 90s. And the reason he came up with it was because it was at that time that computers really started to enter the workplace. So as people were working, he just suddenly noticed that computers are everywhere, lots going on, and he was seeing that the people were kind of looking at the interfaces. There were manuals coming with all this software, and he kind of wanted to speak into that space. Now, we don't really get manuals with software these days, but you used to buy get a big box and kind of manuals and big things like that, and you would flick through and learn how to use it from a manual. So he was kind of thinking about that area, how we get to use a piece of software, what we might be doing at the same time as using it. And all of this came out of the idea that it came out of product design, really. So if you think about product design, as we moved into the Industrial Revolution and we started to make products, someone started to say, hey, we actually need to design these products so that they actually work for the end user, they have a benefit. If you think about cars, I can't imagine someone built the first car with a seat that was adjustable that would slide back and forth. But at some point, someone must have realized, you need to be able to adjust the seat backwards and forwards, because if you've got really long legs, they're going to be hitting you on the chin. And if you've got really short legs, you're going to have to put blocks on the bottom of your shoes, which is great for comedy effect, but not really good if you're trying to drive the car. So, you can see there that there's, a reason to design certain experiences. So as the car steering wheel and the pedals are an interface to us using the car, we are also thinking about how we design the perfect interfaces, or the best possible interfaces. Perfect is very difficult to do, but the best possible interfaces for digital products and things that people use, particularly on screen-based media like tablets, phones, and computer screens. And so when we think about digital design, design is all about connecting complexity to meaning. And what I really mean by that is that a lot of what we do on these devices, we pick up our phones and we touch like a nice fancy icon on our phone, we tap it, and something amazing happens on the screen. Like something very powerful usually happens if you think of some of the Adobe apps that are on mobile, and you click on some of those and you've got like a sort of a cut down version of Photoshop, and you're able to do really amazing things just at the touch of your finger on a screen. There's a lot of complexity going on below that, so it takes a lot of people to think through and to talk to people about what it is they expect to see on a screen. And so giving people what they expect to see on the screen and bringing meaning to the experience is what an experienced designer is trying to do. I see there's a bit of a discussion going on there about whether the Oculus is dead or not. That's completely up for debate. I have no idea if the Oculus is dead or not. You can tell me about that. I think VR is possibly not dead. Whether the Oculus is or not is another issue. So Ryan Singer, who is a UX designer from Basecamp. Basecamp is some software that allows you to do project management on the web, and he's talking about UX design, and he's saying that all the expectations and all the questions and all the needs and all the ways of thinking in the user's mind is like a baseball glove. So we think about this baseball glove. It fits on your hand. The baseball glove is designed to do one thing: catch a baseball. The baseball fits absolutely perfectly into that glove. It just pops right into it. So what we're trying to do as UX designers is if the user's got all those questions in their mind about what they're trying to do and what they think they should be seeing on the screen, our design should be exactly what they expect to see on the screen. It's got to be like that baseball. It fits snugly into the glove. It's perfectly within that space. That's what our design is trying to do. We're trying to understand the end user so that the design that we come up with and create is the design that is informed by the user, so that it matches what they're trying to do. So we're designing for people, and of course the difficult thing about that is that everyone thinks differently, which is why the job of a UX designer is pretty difficult. It's not an easy thing to do at all, and I'll be giving a little overview of some of the things that a UX designer does, but because it's difficult, the job is in high demand. There's a lot of people needing UX designers. So I don't know where I got this from, but I wrote this down somewhere because I've got it written down in a book, and I thought this would make a great slide. But Daniel Burker from Google Ventures said an existing design solution. I think he was kind of talking about California and the San Francisco Bay Area. He's kind of saying this is one solution that he sees a lot, is that people come up with an idea, they engineer that idea, they launch that idea, and then they measure it. So the big question here is, well, what's wrong with that way of launching? That is a question I'm asking you. You can answer in the pod below. Yeah, measuring is last. Exactly. Yeah, it's waterfall. Where does the user fit into this? Exactly right. Yes. So you've hit the nail on the head there, people. Yes, there we go. The measuring part comes at the end. And of course, measuring coming at the end is difficult, because if you measure at the end, then you've got to go back and re-engineer lots of things, and that's a problem. So if engineering the idea comes second on your list, that's bad. So what you've got to do is move the engineering to the last stage, and that's what we try and do now. So his 4 tiers of trying to design that's a better way of designing would be, number 1, starting with the product. Similar to the other one, you start with the product and you ask the question, are we even building the right thing, and does it fit into people's lives? If the answer at that point is no, we're not building the right thing, then maybe you need to ask, what is the right thing? And that's the point behind that. But if it doesn't fit into anyone's life and no one's ever going to use it, then there's no point building it. At that point, that's when you've got a turkey, not after you've engineered it. You find out early on. Then the next part of it is the UX design, doing all the research with people. What do they expect to see? What are they trying to do? Where are they at the time that they're using this? Are they walking down the street? Are they on a bus? Are they at home? Is it a big screen? Are they at work? Are they concentrating on their job and they're doing something else at the same time? What is it? What's going on? Can they use the thing? What are they thinking about? What would be the right information to put on the screen for them? So when you find out that kind of stuff, then you pass that off to the interface designer. The interface designer then figures out where all the parts should go. What are the goals that the user has in mind? What are they trying to do? What do they expect to see on the screen at any one particular point? Put all those things into your design. When you do that, then you start to get towards a kind of final design. So you pass it off to the visual designer, who will then do the visual look of it, and you've ended up with your final look of things, and then you engineer the product at that point. So you can see there's a different way of doing it. You are putting the engineer at the center, but you're also putting the end user at the center, because at every point in that, you're being informed by who that person is. You're speaking to people and you're understanding what should be going on. So really kind of thinking about designing for people, and some of this gets called rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping also gets called lean UX and things like that. So there's all kinds of ways of talking about this. There's lots of buzzwords around this at the moment, and you can almost see, like if you look down Amazon, there's almost a different version of UX. There's like what's your flavor of UX, and there'll be a book about it. That's the way it is at the moment. It's such a high demand kind of space at the moment, and everyone wants to kind of know about it. So I just wanted to kind of lay out what a UX designer does. So they start by doing research. They find out about the people who are using the end product, and the way that they do that is usually through observations. Observations are great. You watch people, you see what's going on, you see what they're doing, you see what their problems are, you try and understand the problem space in which they're in. You have focus groups, you talk to people, you ask them questions, you try to talk to experts in a particular field. You try and find out, if they know of specific problems, but you also talk to, people who might end up using your product at the end. And all the time you're trying to come together and get some goals of what this project is all about. When you thoroughly understand that kind of goal space, you then you've got an understanding of it then. So you're in the second kind of space on here. And that's when you start to develop personas. Personas they're actually fictional kind of things that are based on real people. So you do interviews with real people. You kind of figure out, oh yeah, there's roughly this type of person. So you make a generic person of a certain type. You make it a generic person of another type. It was interesting. I was seeing an interview with, I can't remember the lady's name, but she works at Facebook. And she said, when we first started out designing Facebook, we were literally just creating it for ourselves. We were the end users. The people who worked there were the end users. And then very quickly, after just a few years, we were not just the end users, but we were very distant from the end users. And we were finding that there was maybe like a 60-year-old lady from China or a 40-year-old man from India. And like those people were the end user. And we had to think about, who they were. What were they doing? What was their primary method of getting on the internet? Is it an Android phone? Is it, what kind of phone is it? Because usually people in other countries, the vast majority of the world access the internet via phone. So at Facebook, they introduced a day where they have like a low fidelity day where they're only allowed to see Facebook as if you're accessing it on a very old Android phone. Which is it's great. It puts you right in to the space of a user, which is fantastic because then you really understand what's going on. So personas, user stories. From there, you're trying to get the user flow. You kind of flow from screen to screen. And in other forms of design, you often find that particularly students who are trying to design in that field often decorate things. They often try to add more to things. In UX design and UI design, what we're really trying to do is declutter. We're trying to reduce all the time. If we can get rid of a screen, it's good to get rid of a screen. If you can get a sign-up process that's like one screen, that's perfect. The minimum amount of things that there are to get people using your product is just amazing. So that's what we're always trying to do. Reduce, declutter, take things away, add simplicity is what we're trying to do. we start designing wireframes and coming up with specifications. I'll go into wireframes in a moment. Yeah, keep it simple, stupid. Exactly right. Jay Robertson. I don't know what the J is, so I can only call you Jay. I feel so informal. I don't even know you're Miss or Mister or whatever. Then we go into the design phase, the UI kind of side of things, and there's crossover here. Depending on what kind of company you're in, maybe you're doing all of this stuff. If you're working for a very small company, if you're working for a large company, there may be people doing different stages along the way. It's Jonathan. Okay, hi Jonathan, nice to have you here. So you go from a very low fidelity prototype, which is very rough wireframe, which I'll show you in a moment, through to high fidelity prototype, which is your final almost finished design. And you go through iterative testing along the way. And this is what we're thinking about as we move into XD, Adobe XD. It's very useful for us to see that. So on the screen right now, you should be able to see some rough wireframe sketches. They are low fidelity designs. Now, why is it important to make them as rough as possible when you first start designing? Who can tell me why that's a good idea? Less rigid. Could you be a bit more specific, Joelle? Low investment. That's great, Julie. I like that. Low investment. You haven't spent a lot of time on it. Yeah. You don't get too attached to it. That's good. Yeah. Makes you focus on the basics. That's very good as well. Yeah. You're focusing on the function. Yeah. Versatility. Yes, you've got some great ideas there. Have you ever given a really polished piece of work to somebody and asked them to critique it, especially if you give that to one of your friends? Honestly, if you give polished work to people, people are really less likely, especially if they know you, they are less likely to critique it. Somebody's put that in there. They just say it's good, regardless of whether it's trash. They're just going to say, it's great, it's fantastic. But if you've spent virtually no time on something, the lowest fidelity you can do, the lowest hand sketch, it's fast. You can do this. The three screens here, I think anyone could do this in less than 5 minutes. Oh, and you know what I tell my students as well? Get your phone, pop it down, draw around it. That's what I do. And then you've got your screen. Make it as quick as that to do it. That's how I generally tell students to design. Really easy way to do it. Sketch out your ideas on there, put them on, low fidelity, get them in front of people, and people will be brutally honest. If they can see you've spent no time over it, they'll be brutally honest. They'll look at it and go, oh, I think that looks like an app because of the size of the phone, but honestly, what's locator? What does that mean? Why has it got the word locator there? You know, and they'll say that, and so you start a conversation. Well, what do you think it should mean? And you know, you move on and get a little bit closer to your product. Then you can go into software like XD and you start building out your interface. You start making what is called your wireframe. Wireframes need to have kind of words on there that explain what parts are. If you don't do that, then it's meaningless. If you were to give this to somebody to use, they would kind of understand what it is. They can see there's a checkbox on here. They can see there's supposed to be a map on here. It's helping get into the right frame of mind. And then as you test this on more and more people, you eventually get it to something that starts to become a lot closer to maybe the finished thing that you're going to do. And the closer you can get to this means that your engineer, your software engineer, is going to know exactly what it is that it should be doing. But also the software engineer knows that it's tested, it's fully tested. They can go in with confidence and build this. Each phase, as you refine it, each phase, you're more confident that the design is right. So that is the point behind the way we're sort of designing here. And so you can take those very, very simple sketches into Adobe XD. I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. And start from a real low fidelity wireframe. Yes, I do. I test Liz with wireframes. Absolutely. You test with basic wireframes, the lowest possible design you can do. So there's my lowest possible design. Then I move it on a stage, and then I move it on a stage. And you can see at each stage, it gets more refined. So yes, with users all the time, always with users. Not with friends, always with the person who is supposed to be doing it. Get as quick and iterative feedback as possible. Yes, B Daniel 72 has said that. perfectly. Yes. No, not with colleagues. Colleagues are generally like you. They're going to be working in your office. They're going to be doing the same sort of things you. For training people to be UX designers, they're going to be working in an office with other UX designers, with engineers, and with people like that. They're not going to know what it should look like. Everybody's idea of what the interface should look like is your idea. When you put it in front of a person, you learn what they're thinking and whether the idea is right for them. You actually only really need to test with about 5 people. After 3 people, you start to get duplicate answers. So you can make tests immediately. So what I get my students to do is make changes on the fly as they go along. So they test with somebody, make a change, test it with somebody else, make a change, test it with somebody else, because you'll you'll get feedback and you'll get to the end result. So I think I'm at a stage now where we've kind of explained the UX landscape, which I wanted to do before going in and doing a test. So not doing a test, see, I've got a test on my brain for going in and using XD. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm now going to share my screen and head over to my desktop, and hopefully you can see Illustrator at the moment, which is not XD, but that's okay. I'm going to pull XD up in just a second. Right, I can still see the comments, so please, as I'm going along, ask questions and I'll happily stop and do something again. So let's go over into XD, and when you open XD, you just end up with a very simple screen like this. I'm going to start, let's assume we're making something for an iPhone. So I'm going to start with this iPhone, and there's my iPhone screen. As you can see, compared to a lot of other Adobe products, this is very sparse at the moment. There's very, I wouldn't say there's very little here, there's actually quite a lot here, but it's nowhere near as big as say, After Effects or something like that. Okay, just checking. So Chris is saying that he's got a blank screen, but BDaniel72 is saying they're good. Is everyone more or less good? Chris, you might want to just pop out and back in again if you're the only one. What's low fidelity? We're gonna cover that in a moment. Low fidelity is what I'm going to put on in the screen in just 1 second. That's a great question. What is low fidelity? So let me come in here and let's go to that. Let's go into the assets. Right, I'm going to drag a low fidelity image onto the screen. So I'm just zoom out here, and I'm going to put this interface up. Right, here we go. So I've just taken a picture of this interface with my phone, and I've just kind of placed it up on the screen here. So resized it to fit on the screen. So as you can see, really simple interface. I've not spent any time on it. I've not even designed it in XD. I've just popped it on the screen. That right there is a low fidelity wireframe. It's a low fidelity design. High fidelity would be high end, towards the finished piece. We start low and we refine it and get closer towards the end. So that's my first screen. Let's get my second screen up. So put my second screen up. I'm going to grab this, going to copy it and click off this screen and onto this one and paste it into here. And then I'm going to put my second screen up here. Okay, so I am now going to turn my rough 30-second sketch into an interface. And the way I do that is I'm going to go over to the rectangle tool. So the rectangle tool is just over in the toolbar there on the left-hand side. And I'm going to draw my rectangle over the top of where it says people. Now I can't see the word people anymore. So over here, I'm going to get rid of the fill. I'm going to get rid of the border. The box is still there. You can still see the blue around the edge of the box. It's still there. It's all good. But now I am ready to use that and connect that up from one screen to another. So at the moment, you can see I'm in the mode of being in design mode. Next to this is prototype mode. So if I click on prototype here, the interface changes slightly. What I get now is the ability to connect this to this screen. You can just see there's a little dot coming out of the side. So I am going to slide left from this screen into this screen. Okay, that's very good. It slides from one screen to the other, but how do we test that? So we go up to the very top right of our design, and up here you can see there is a little play button. So I click play, and here is the interface. The great thing is I can record this. So there's a record button here, and I can record somebody using this. So as I click on here, I can see, oh look, as I come over people, I can click on people, and there I can slide over, and I can see, look, I'm on this other screen that I've got here. So the feedback a user would give me straight away would be, well, maybe they want to click on Steve or Greg or Matthias, but actually they may just kind of go, oh, I can't get back. How do I get back to that other screen? There's no back button. Yeah, that's my mistake. I haven't made a back button. So straight away, you've got a way of doing that. Now, one of the problems with the record, it records an MP4. You can save it wherever you want. The problem with it is, and maybe Remy, who's here tonight, might be able to tell this to the XD team, but what would be awesome is if you could record the person's voice at the same time, because then you've got, like if you're interviewing somebody and saying, okay, do you want to use my interface and just talk? Usually when you do a user testing session, you get the user to talk out loud. So they'd say, oh, well, I'm going to click on people because if it's about Friend Finder, I want to find people. So they click there and go, yeah, okay, it's brought up people. That's what I expect to see. And you get feedback from them as you go. So we need to hear people's voices. We need to record that. What would be even better as well is if it recorded from the webcam, and you got the webcam of because then you've got the person's face, and you can see from the person's face like all their confused looks as they're reading the interface, which is, you know, you need that. You want to do a recording with commentary? Yes, there you go. So there's definitely a need there to add that in. Okay, good. So that's a very simple interface. Other things that you can do with this is you can click here and you can create a link for this and share it online with other people so you get other people to test it. Now, I wouldn't really do a testing session remotely with other people who are not in front of you, but it's great for passing this on to stakeholders, like if you've got a client or something like that. But you know, that's really awesome for that. And another thing that you can do as well is you can actually preview this on either an iOS or Android device if you get the app. So you can get like a little XD app to put on your Android device, and you can put this straight on there, so you can test it on those devices. So yes, you can record the user. You can record the user's action. I'll do it quickly just to show you. So if I start recording here, you can also see a big sort of fat finger on the screen here. So I can see click there, and my feedback would be, oh, there is no back button. So I'll stop recording and ask me where I want to save that. So save it to my desktop, and I'll call this user test 1, say. And I've got an MP4 then on my desktop, and if I squeeze my mouse, there it is, and there's no audio. So there's the MP4 playing there. Okay, good. There you go. So you can get it in front of people, you can test it with people, and you've got a record of the testing because you've recorded it. That's why we do that. It's a record of it. Okay, if I was getting ready to move this into a higher fidelity design, let me just get rid of this a moment. This is what I would do from here. I would go into here to get my text tool, and I would type the word friend finder here. Let's get this and let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it 60. There we go. Maybe make the fill of this black. I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. So I can basically start creating a box here, and I can add some text to this box. So it's people. Oops, I think I might have lost people. Let's get it. Oops, can't spell. People. Good. Let's make that a little bit bigger as well. Let's make that 40. Oops. Just leave it as grey for now. Okay, so we get people in there. Excellent. So we've got people in. And when you've got two things together like this, you can click and grab them both and go to your repeat grid button over here, which is very magic when you see the repeat grid, but it's not actually ideal for what we're doing here. I'm going to show you why it's not ideal in a second. So if we go to repeat grid, and lo and behold, I've repeated it down, and I've got 3 buttons there, people, and I can change the text on each one, people, places, and it was activities, wasn't it? Activities. Okay, so if I want to link these up with the other page, there's a big problem. So go to my prototype, and the big problem is that it's all of that is to link up. So go back to design. There's a way around that. It's okay. All you need to do is, well, we've got the grid that created that in the first place. We just click Ungroup Grid, and now we've got separate objects. Okay, so that now works. We've got separate objects. So my people button can go to my people page. So there we go. Very nice indeed. Very easy to do. And if I go back to my design, what I would do at this stage then is I'd get rid of that background, and there we go. I've started on my design. My design is getting there. It's a very simple design, but it took longer to put that together than my sketch. My sketch took me about 30 seconds, if that, to put together, because I did it so low fidelity. But as I start to get confidence that this is the right kind of interface, I'm now ready to work with it. Okay, let's move on and do something further than this. Let's try and take it a step further. So let's imagine that I'm really, really, really happy with this. Oh, I know that. Even before I do that, there's a few things I should show you as well. So over here at the side, at the bottom, is our layer stack. So for this first screen, iPhone screen 1, we can see I've got 3 groups. That is the groups here, and there's my text that's on the screen. So we've got a kind of layer stack there, which is kind of what you would expect from a lot of things that we do. And there's also a symbol folder here. So I'll show you something that symbols are good, but there's also can be a slight problem with them. Yeah, let's grab that. Let's click in here. If I bring this out now and wanted a second symbol of that, if I started editing the word people, watch what happens. They all edit. So it's not great for text type stuff that you're going to be changing a lot of. It's good for graphics that you're going to, oops, let's see, I've got rid of that. It's good for graphics that you're going to be using over and over again, but not great for it if you want to change text. But you've got a little symbol library there, which is nice. It's good to have that. Works really well. So that's just like kind of a little tray there at the side, moves in and out. Good. A few people are typing. Let's try and see what's going on. Any questions so far, people? I'm going to do some slightly better designs now. Don't worry. Your layer stack doesn't show. Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. I don't really know what to say. Have you got the latest version? What about responsive design? Yes, indeed. What if we were not doing an iPhone? Let's click here to add a new screen. And as I go to add a new screen, what do we have down the side here? Oh, I want a web page. There's my web page. Oh, what if I want to add a different type of screen? I want to add an iPad. There's my iPad. So as I zoom out, we've got lots of different screens. I can then start designing my different style screens for different things. I can start working with them. So you can see, it's relatively easy to get going with this kind of thing. We're working in XD, Denise. Adobe XD. Thanks, Joel. Okay, so there we go. We get an idea of how to do that. Now you can obviously go on and start really making your designs look a lot better. So let me do that. Let me just make a slightly better design here for you, because there's a few things I want to show you that's quite nice. So just go over to my Finder. I'm going to drag in an image to put in the background here. Let's drag this image in and drop it in there. Zoom out a second. Let's get this down smaller. Something like that. There we go. So this is going to be my home screen of my app. And I'm going to center back. There we go. Nicely done. So my text here, I'm going to split this into 2 separate text boxes. It should become obvious in a minute why I'm going to do this. So let's get rid of that. Move that down a bit. And let's get this one on the screen. Right, so I'm going to start designing this a little bit better now than it is. So I want to make this kind of slightly pinkish. Pink is one of my favorite colors, I have to say, especially for designing. So, and I really like this color, and anybody who designs knows that you need to keep your colors consistent. So I'm going to click this little plus symbol down here, save that color in, and there I've got the color. If I need to get rid of it, you just drag it off to get rid of it. So I've got that in. Let's put in the right typeface I want here. So this one is going to be Sign Painter. Nicely done. And it's the right size as well. Perfect. So let's do my next one. And this one is going to be intro inline, and this is going to be 80. Let's just drag that out a bit. There we go. And Finder. Let's get the color of this one. This one's going to be a sort of orangish kind of color, a bit darker orange than that, a bit burnt. There we go. Let's get that one. Great, there's my colors. Right, so with that kind of in place, I am now going to add a couple of lines in here. So let's add a line. Let's make it that same pink that I did before. Let's make it a bit bigger. And we can alt drag, like in other Adobe programs, to copy elements. Let's do it again and pop it down at the bottom here. And we're starting to build up our design nicely. So when it comes to down here, I'm going to get rid of these because I'm going to do something slightly different. I want to show a different way of doing this. So I'm going to make my buttons sort of be reminiscent of maybe a slightly older style design that they used to be. I'm going to put round corners on it. So I'm going to put 10 pixel round corners on this, a little border on there. My border on here, I'm going to make that pink color. I'm going to make it 2 pixels again. And what I'm going to do is I want this to be a transparent color. So I'm going to put this background blur on. So I take background blur and immediately the background color of white has become blurred. But what if I want the background fill to be pink as well? It still doesn't do it. Even though it's gone pink here, it doesn't do it. So what we have to do is you have to drag this slider along here and we can add however much pink we want in there. So I just am going to put just a little of that in there. Going to copy this line down here, bring it to front. Using similar shortcuts that I do in Illustrator. In fact, it is the same shortcut as Illustrator to bring to front and center back. So bring those in, and then I'll make a text box, and that will be people and places. Maybe make that a little bit bigger. 40 pixels, and center that, and make the text white to stand out. White, there we go. Okay, so you can see that very quickly you can build up a design in here because it's all designed, it's all made to help you with what you're doing. So again, if I was getting ready to prototype this, I'd grab this one, connect it up over here to slide it left over onto that one. I'm just going to create another page. I'm going to put it below. Yeah, oops, wrong one. I wanted to go back onto an iPhone. There we go. That's plus. Got the wrong one. That one. There we are. Okay, good. So I am going to create another simple design here. Let's just add in a little bar along the top, and I am going to make this. I'm just making this one up, so I'll probably get this. It'll probably look awful. Okay, so I want to add in some stuff on the screen here, and I want a back button on this one. So I'm thinking more like a kind of Android style design. So if you go to File and choose Open UI Kit, we've got the whole of Apple's iOS, the whole of Google's Material Design, and the whole of Windows as a UI kit. So I'm going to choose Material Design. Opens up a new XD window, and there's everything that I need for Android. You can see it's all in there, the whole of Android's Material Design. And what I'm looking for actually is just this arrow over here. There we go. I'm going to copy that arrow, close this down because I don't need it anymore. Back into my document, I'm going to paste the arrow in here. Just quickly make a circle to put a back button in, and you can see there, you know, I can start making my back button pretty quickly from there. So then maybe I want to start making my people in here, so my friends. So let's get rid of the border. Let's add in this, and I want to put like little people's heads in here. So let's grab this. Let's put the border. Let's make the border white. Let's make it 2 pixels, and then I'm going to just put some text in. I'm going to just put one. I'd normally put 2 in, but I'm conscious of time, and there's still more things I want to show. So, I'm just going to write person's name, and let's make that white. There we go. Okay, so with this selected now, grabbing all of those, go to my repeat grid like I showed before, and I can get a load of those down the screen here. So I'm I want to put some people in here, so I'll go to my Finder. Let's grab these 4 images of people, and I'm just going to drag and drop over the circle, and they're all done at the same time. So it's just populated. Now if I carry on going down with my repeat grid, what will happen is those people keep repeating down the page. So it's very fast to design with. And the repeats can go this way as well if I'm doing a design that way. It's very easy to do. What if I decide that the gap between here isn't right? I can just grab the gap and make the gap as big or small as I like. So it's all super fast for designing interfaces. So this person here might be called Steve Holly. This could be, I'm going to put some of my real friends in here. I saw Tacey was in the room. I'm going to put Tacey in. Etc. Etc. That's not really tasty because that's terrible. I shouldn't do that. Let's put Remy in there. Right, there we go. You can see that it was clever enough to know not to change the text on each one of these, even though we went down and we copied each one. It was clever enough. Thanks for the smile there, Tacey. So it works out really nice for doing that, and I just wanted to show quickly how you kind of fill that in. So that's good. We can draw in here. There is a simple kind of drawing tool to draw things in here. That's not very good drawing, but we can also edit basic shapes as well. So if I was to say I was doing a map, say, and I wanted to put a marker on the map, all I do is double click this circle, and you can see now I can start editing it. So if I grab this option here, just move that down. So I'm pressing Shift and my down arrow key to bring this down a little bit. I'm bringing this in from the sides here. Maybe a little less like that. And then I'm going to put another circle in the middle, and if I hold Alt and Shift like we do on Illustrator, we can draw outwards from the center. We've got 2 objects there. Let's grab both of those objects. Let's go to Object, let's go to Path, let's choose Subtract, and we've created something very, very similar to what we would do in Illustrator. Like if we were doing a map marker, and from here I could maybe make my border white. I can use my fill color to be one of the colors I've chosen already, and now I've got a map marker. I can scale it down nice and small. There's my map marker. It's all done. It's very easy. So that's kind of nice to do. Nice to work with that, which is kind of good. I'm going to just go to Illustrator. Somebody's saying about Illustrator on there. Great to see how it compares to Illustrator. I'm going to show you how to import something from Illustrator. So let's just imagine this is our logo here on the screen for Friend Finder. Let's just grab this. I'm going to copy this. I have got this saved, but there's no need to even save it. We just go from there to this screen here. Let's put it on the home screen. I'm just going to paste on that home screen, and it comes in as an SVG. It is completely editable. So I can double click inside here. Let's zoom in. There's my gradient. So look, it's got the gradient in there, but I can change that and make it a solid color. Maybe I want it to be this orange color, which I've already selected here as my thing. So even though it's come from Illustrator, it's perfectly editable. I can do the same thing here. I can change the color from a gradient to a solid color. I can use the color that I've chosen before. And we can edit it totally inside here and work with it. Again, the grays, similar sort of thing with the grays. Just keep double clicking until you get access to it. When you double click, you can change it, you can get it in. And this one here, let's make this kind of pink, but let's make it a lesser pink like that. There we go. And there's maybe our logo in. It's covering up the guy, but yeah. So, you know, we can put it in, we can edit it, we can play with it, we can do whatever we want with it. What if we needed this as repeat grid? So maybe we brought in some stars from Illustrator. So let's go to repeat grid, and we've got a load of them going across the screen. You know, you can use that however you want. So it's kind of easy. In fact, I'll do that. I'll just go to Illustrator and make a quick star. Star tool, click. Quick, 525. Yes, that's fine. Let's go with that. Okay, good. And I'm just going to rotate that round again. There we go. Let's copy that. Let's head back into XD. So you sometimes see these on like rating systems. You know, you get some rating systems. So let's grab that. Let's grab our orange color in there. Let's go to the fill, change the fill to our orange, solid color orange. There we go. And if we'd scale this down, this was going to be like a rating system. We could just go to repeat grid, and we've got a repeat grid going along. You know, it's super easy. Really good to do that. Got one last thing I want to show you. I realize I'm running out of time. I'm terribly running out of time. I just want to show this really quickly. I've already created it, but this is like a kind of calendar thing. You can't do different states on a page, so you have to create 3 different pages for the same state. So if I was in my prototype mode, I'd want someone to click here, and it would link over to here. I want someone to click on the 18th, and it registers as the 18th. So if I was to test this, so let's get the right screen up. If I was to test this, I click on my data, my drop menu. It would come up here. I click on 18th, and it would then show the 18th of December, whatever. So we've got the 3 stages of the drop menu. You have to create different phases for them to be able to do that. So that's just something that I wanted to put in there and kind of show. Right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, come back into the room, answer any final questions, and then I think we'll just wrap up. So there we are. Anyone got any final questions? Yes, Lizzie, that's a great question. I'm wondering how to bring this into the classroom. Yeah, to help instructors who may not have one team of developers. Okay. So, yeah, instructors can use this. Yes, they might not have a whole team of developers. I think that's what you're trying to say there, whole, yes. Line below, yes, I can see that whole. Yeah, and it would definitely help you. It would definitely help reduce the workload that the developers are going to have to do, without a doubt, yes. Yeah, the states, like just to create states, you just create separate screens for it. So normally you kind of think of a screen as being, you know, like just that one screen, but we can't create separate states of that screen. So you just have to make them as separate screens, separate steps. So if I really wanted to fill in the first name and last name on there, you click the first name. I could import inside there the keyboard from, say, Android, or the keyboard from iOS, something like that, and pop that on the screen, and then I could show the fields being filled in for the first name, last name. So in total, it would be like one click inside the text field would bring up the keyboard, then someone would type the first name in, so that's like 2 steps, then the last name, the surname, and then, so that's another step to do that. So in total, you'd end up making 6 steps to fill what is a 3-step process, because you've got to show the steps along the way. Yeah, how to increase or decrease the gap between the objects. You just hover between the gap, Chinar, and as you do that, you get like a little space highlighted, and you can just stretch it out, click and stretch it out. Really easy to do. Yes, XD is specifically for designing experiences. X stands for experience, experience design. So digital experiences is what it's for. So that is more apps and web kind of page design. No, you can't bring anything in from Flash. No, you can't export it to Dreamweaver, but what you can do is it's about separating the designer's role from the developer's role. That's what it's all about, separating those phases out. So you pass your assets off to the developer. So you can export your screens as SVGs, you can export them as images, you can export them as PDFs for clients, you can do all kinds of things with them. So pretty good. You can demo it on an iPad. I did show that at the beginning. There's up in the top corner, there's like a little phone icon. There's an application available on the iTunes Store and the Android Play Store. Download it, get it on your device, and then you can send them across onto your device and test them on the device, and give them to other people to test on the device, so that you know that they can feel what it's like. Yeah, good. Yeah, the product team is very interactive, as Remy says there. Can you add videos? No, you can't at the moment. It's simply for design only. Okay, bye, Joel. Sorry, Irina. Oh, Can we convert the screens just created to an iPad? Just a screen? Yes, of course you can. Yes, you can export screens individually. Yes, it does that. Yes, definitely. Can you make long screen? It doesn't allow for scrolling at the moment. So you can extend the length of the document down, and that will do it. Actually, yes, you can. You can bring the document down. It won't automatically do it as your content goes off the bottom. You can drag the bottom of each screen down further. Yes, that's possible, and it does scroll up. I'm pretty sure I remember doing that. Well, it serves a different purpose, Amara, to Illustrator or Photoshop. It would work in conjunction with both of those tools. So in Photoshop, you can export your phone screens out for this, and you can have them bring them in. This is for testing. You can design in here, but you can carry on designing in Photoshop. You can carry on designing in Illustrator. You can prototype and test your designs in here. So I hope that benefit is quite clear. You see that. That's why we spoke about that at the beginning, about how we were about what an experienced designer does, a user experience designer. They try and understand people and the problems that they're going through, so that then the design can be reflective of that. Any demo? Yes, there's plenty of demos on the main website, actually. Yeah, you can probably see them there. Learning objects, probably not quite at the moment. It's not quite sophisticated enough to do anything for learning objects at the moment, let's see. Maybe it might be able to do in a few years. You can export I think the export is for separate pages, Irene, if I remember rightly. It exports each artboard to a separate page. Or you can export them as images, and then you can reassemble them onto a page in something like I was going to say PageMaker, InDesign. What am I thinking? It's like going back in time 20 years, PageMaker. Or you can go into Illustrator. Okay, any final questions? I think we're almost done. Definitely better to create a website. Well, it's the stage before you build a website. It's trying to get the interface right and testing the interface with people. Slightly different to the kind of thing you might do with Muse, because Muse isn't really a developer's tool. We're thinking here of when you're developing really sophisticated apps that you then have to pass off to a developer. Hopefully you kind of would see why you would want your developer to spend as little time as possible developing, because it's so expensive to hire a developer to build your app or your fantastic website that you want to make. So that's the difference with it. It's a slightly different role than what Muse is. Okay, thanks folks. I think we're kind of done. Remy, is there anything you want to say at the end just to wrap up?